Hello physical fiends, it's Jordan here with another Worth a Purchase where I play a game usually for a short amount of time to see if I would buy it myself, but firstly I have played this much longer than usual and I would personally consider this a proper review than an impressions video, okay? This game, Romance of the Three Kingdoms 8 Remake, is releasing digitally this week on Nintendo Switch, but this is physical paradise, and that's all I care about, and I am relieved to say that at the last minute, a physical for this game was announced. Purchase links are down below in the description and the pinned comment if you want to grab it yourself, but it is a little bit of a minefield, so let me explain the physical release first this time, okay? The most disappointing thing is that there is no Western physical release, not for North America nor for Europe. It is digital only in the West, but do not despair because we Three Kingdoms fans do have an option. You are going to want to avoid the Hong Kong and Japanese physical releases. Yes, it's releasing physically on Switch and PlayStation 5 in Hong Kong, same in Japan, but they also have a PlayStation 4 physical, but none of these have English. Do not buy them if your main language is English, like myself. However, in Southeast Asia, in Singapore, probably my favorite country on earth right now, they have their own special version on PlayStation 5 and Nintendo Switch, and they do have English. They have an English cover, and they have English language in-game. So you can own Romance of the Three Kingdoms 8 Remake physically and in English, and you can keep it forever. It's yours. You have tangible value, and you can even get your money back if you want to sell it on once you've finished with it. It's up to you. If you want this version, again, check the links down below in the description and the pinned comment. It is not a cheap product. It's niche, and they don't print many of them. It's a chunky cartridge as well. The ones linked below are the correct ones, the ones with English, okay? Don't make a mistake. Don't accidentally buy the Chinese version, okay? If you do buy with my links, you can support me and this channel at the same time, and I greatly appreciate that support. And I can support you too, because if you click the link and buy something, you can also get 5% off with my discount code Jordan24. So that's the physical, but what is this game all about? Well, it is a remake of one of the most popular entries in the Romance of the Three Kingdoms series. 8 was so popular, in fact, at least 12 people bought it, and it was the first game in the series to get released in Europe. I bought it back in the day and lost most of my early teens to this bloody thing. This is a strategy game where you try and conquer China. Unlike the previous game that was released on the Switch, 14, in which you could only control the leader of a kingdom, 8 allows you to control anyone, a ruler, a vassal, or a vagrant who's keeping their options open. You can choose to be a great warrior like Guan Yu, a clever bugger like Su Shu, or some sort of lovable chump who has more gumption than actual abilities. Or you can be a hated bandit. You can be anyone within the Three Kingdoms era. There are like 1,000 officers available, and they are all different and unique. This is the kind of game with endless possibilities and challenges. The fact that you can be a general in an army that gets destroyed, well, it's not game over. You can just join your new overlord, or leg it to a neighboring kingdom and try and get your revenge. Or if your ruler is a bit of a tit and you become super influential, you can rebel and create your own kingdom, and it might actually work. The game is split up into 3 gameplay parts. There's the battles, there's the meetings, and then the daily 9-to-5 job that you have to attend to, which I think may bore some people, and in the wrong situation it can be a bit tedious. So after the monthly meeting, the ruler or prefect of the city will assign each officer a duty to improve the city. Some will help with agriculture, some patrolling the town, some helping the economy, and you get graded on your successes at the end of the season and in the new meeting. This can depend on how committed you are to helping out. Are you going to use all your energy to do the task? And of course, you know, your ability. The higher your abilities, the more successful you'll be. And you can gain ranks this way. If you're stuck in a backwater city that's never going to see any kind of action, this can get a bit boring. But hey, at least you'll be safe and you won't get killed. Maybe you can bide your time improving your skills, and that's a good way to succeed as well. A better, stronger, healthier city has a much better chance of surviving an attack or providing resources to go on the offensive. Plus, this remake has loads of little cutscenes going on, small events coming in all the time just to add a little bit of variety, and it really works. Of course, being on the front line is the best, where you have to mix these jobs to improve the city while also potentially defending or going on the offensive. The battle system is kind of the same really. Visually it's had an overhaul like the rest of the game, but the majority of what was there before remains, just with different names and menus. I think thanks to nostalgia I preferred the original version of the battle system, with its more isometric look and the fact that it felt more chaotic. Because in this remake there are like big, chunky, defined hexagons, whereas in the original, yes, there was a grid, but it was so small it might have just been like free placement. You could just get this big, glorious, blobby mess as 20 armies just butchered each other in flames and arrows. It's a bit more dignified here. There is so much customization in this game, even more so after you complete it one time. Unlike the original game, where there were about like half a dozen time periods and scenarios to start in, here it feels like 10 times more. Pick a year and you can drop into it. The possibilities for this game are endless, and as a remake it does a brilliant job of almost making the original obsolete, because it encapsulates everything about the original game and seemingly makes it better, and then adds to it with things that don't seem out of place. Like, I was a bit worried when I saw the trailer and it's telling me about all the stuff they've added. I was panicking thinking, why mess with what's not broken? But it feels like this could have been in the original. It doesn't feel added just so they can mention something in the PR. The tail system works much better than the seemingly random and unpredictable events in the original. I'm not always a fan of checklists for quests, but it works fine in this situation. The relationship system has been expanded and is far more nuanced. It doesn't feel rigid anymore. And it plays a huge part in the game. Getting all of your colleagues as your friends makes the battles easier because of the bonds that you share with them. You can get married a lot more easily, and you can have kids, like fictional kids that you only seem to see once per year as they grow up, but you can influence their stats, so when they do come of age and be actual characters, you've molded them into either a warrior or a tactician. This is so good. The honor system and notoriety is also improved. You can see how people feel about you and why they won't talk with you, and you can remedy that. It doesn't feel like you're stuck being the bad guy no matter what. For me, this is a huge improvement. As much as I don't like it emotionally, logically they also fixed some of the cheesability of the original. You now can't go and visit any city you want. You can't jump to the other side of the country to hire some badass dude that you know is hanging out. You can only visit cities that you own and then one neighboring city outside of your territory. And even then, if you rock up to another state's city gate, you may get rejected if you get seen by one of the guards, which makes sense. If my mortal enemy waltzed into my city and started chatting up and bribing my officers, I might be a little bit perplexed. It's not for certain that'll happen in this game, but it's a nice little curveball that I didn't anticipate, and I like it. Although I just want to hire all the badass officers, but I can't anymore. But that's fine. One thing, just one small thing that has me worried, and I haven't had the chance to test it out fully because the scenario is out of the player's hands, okay? So there was this one instance where a rival warlord attacked one of my cities, and I was royally screwed over because I had just sent my strongest warrior to spy on a city elsewhere. Despite this action being over and the spy reporting what they found, they were not able to take part in the defense, which I guess maybe makes sense logically. Like, if you're off doing something, you can't be in two places at once, but he did come back. And if he was in battle, I'm sure I would have defended the city successfully. I haven't been able to test it in other scenarios, like even in 20 hours, like I've literally played this for 20 hours, because the situation has not like arose again. But I hope it's not the case, because that would be overly harsh. And you'd be afraid to call on your best fighters to do something productive in the meetings, just in case someone invaded you. One thing that may bother other old school fans is that you can only control one officer. In the original, there was a hot seat multiplayer, I think for up to like 8 people, or one person just could control multiple officers, if you fancied, going against yourself or playing God. For some reason, this remake is now solely a single player experience, or at least you can only control one officer at a time. I don't know why. This does not affect my enjoyment like a single iota, but I know it may bother some people out there. Personally, I think this game is just amazing. It is niche, and I'm a very specific person who enjoys the Three Kingdoms era. If you don't believe me, check out the big chunky video I did about video games based on this era. This game has changed my life in incalculable ways, at least the original. For me though, having played a bunch of the series, I think this one just gets the perfect balance in terms of complexity and simplicity. This is not a game to get overwhelmed with, despite the millions of options in how you want to play it. I think it's very accessible but not shallow enough to be boring. I think this is even better than the original, and I thank Koei for randomly remaking this. Although I think my dear subscribers may not be so thankful to them, because this game has absolutely demolished my productivity. It is so addictive. Would I buy this myself? Of course I would. I've already pre-ordered the physical release on both Switch and PlayStation 5, despite having a review code, because this is a game I love, and I do believe it's worth having physically in my opinion. It's not cheap, but it is worth having on a physical cartridge or a PlayStation 5 disc, and there is no greater value for money in my opinion. I mean, it could be like $5, it could be $70, it doesn't matter. I'm still gonna play this for 500 hours. Plus, once all the eShop servers are switched off in 10-15 years time, I'm still going to properly own this game for myself forever. And for me, this game, it's a 10 out of 10 video game. Of course, it won't be for everyone. In fact, most people will not see it as a 10 out of 10 game, of course. But it's made one of my favorite games of all time even better. I've only played this version for about 20 hours so far over the past 5 days, and I still can't think of a single reason why I would go back to the original. There's no point. We have something better, and it is amazing. If you are interested in similar games, I also highly recommend the other import exclusive, Romance of the Three Kingdoms 14, the bundle pack. The Singapore version of that has English, and that game solely focuses on being the leader, and it is a very different beast, all things considered. Same kind of addictive awesomeness, just plays very differently. There is also a Singapore version, a physical release, of Nobunaga's Ambition, which is focused on Japanese history and is more of a real-time strategy. Links are down below for those as well if you just want the full historical package. Will you be picking up Romance of the Three Kingdoms 8 Remake? How about physically? Let me know in the comments. What is your favorite game in the series? It seems like everybody says something different, so I'm always interested in hearing your thoughts, and please tell me why. Don't just say, oh, it's 11. I need to know why it is 11, okay? If you do want to purchase this physically, check the links down below. That helps support me massively. And of course, use my discount code Jordan24 to get 5% off. And I hope you all have a fantastic day. Take care.